Chapter 1 The Blue Sky. Each flight was a pilgrimage for Wei Li, a chance to immerse himself in the raw power and untamed beauty of nature. As he soared through the skies, the roar of the engine mingled with the whispering winds, creating a symphony that filled his heart with awe and wonder. It was in these moments that Li felt closest to his true calling, understanding the complexities of planetary atmospheres and unraveling the mysteries of climate patterns. As Li's aircraft descended towards the airstrip, he noticed something out of the ordinary. The runway, typically completely devoid of activity, had a large black SUV with military personnel standing around it. Curiosity tinged with a touch of apprehension filled his mind as he landed his aircraft. As the engine powered down, Li stepped out onto the runway, greeted by the cool desert breeze. A aged man in a gray suit, plain, almost deliberately so. He didn't project authority with posture or expression, but something in his stillness, in the way the soldiers kept a respectful distance, made it clear he wasn't to be underestimated. Li's mind shuffled through his memory, trying to find a reason to be visited by the government. As the man drew closer, their eyes met, and the stranger extended a hand in greeting and bowed slightly, confusingly even more. "Dr. Wei Li, I presume," the stranger said, his voice calm and assured. Li bowed back, shaking the stranger's hand. "Yes, that's correct. How can I help you?" The stranger smiled, his gaze unwavering. "Apologies for the abrupt introduction. My name is Ji Cao. You have a mission of great importance." Mr. Cao's statement only served to confuse Li even more. "A mission? What kind of mission?" "Dr. Li, I assure you, the nature of this mission requires the utmost discretion and secrecy. It involves a project of great significance for our nation's future." Li leaned in slightly. "1,000 apologies, Mr. Cao, but I have no idea what project you are referring to. I am a climate scientist, hardly appropriate for changing the fate of nations." "Walk with me," Mr. Cao began, gently leading Li away from the soldiers and down the tarmac. "Repeating what I am about to tell you would be considered treason." He paused, letting the implied threat hang in the air. "The project I speak of is called Project Senguo. It's an initiative aimed at transforming Venus into a habitable planet for human colonization." Li's eyes widened in astonishment. "Venus? How do you plan to achieve such a feat? Venus's atmosphere and temperatures are notoriously hostile." Mr. Cao regarded Li with the calm indifference of a recently fed leopard. "We believe you possess the expertise and vision necessary to lead this endeavor, Dr. Li. Your knowledge of planetary atmospheres and climate science is unparalleled." Li had always followed the edge of the known world, drawn to what lay beyond, but this was something else entirely. "If I choose this path, what exactly am I stepping into?" Mr. Cao stopped walking and fixed his inscrutable gaze upon Li, his lips forming a small smile before it fell away again to be replaced with a neutral mask. "Dr. Li," Mr. Cao started, his voice calm and low, "when you accept this role, it is important to understand the magnitude of the task at hand. Project Senguo is an ambitious endeavor aimed at transforming Venus into a habitable planet for human colonization. As the head scientist, your expertise and leadership will be instrumental in driving the project forward." He continued walking. "Your primary responsibility will be to devise a comprehensive strategy to cool Venus's atmosphere and create conditions conducive to sustaining human life. This will require extensive research, experimentation, and collaboration with a multidisciplinary team of experts." Mr. Cao's eyes met Li's, conveying the weight of the challenge they faced. "You will be tasked with analyzing existing data, conducting new experiments, and developing innovative technologies to counteract Venus's extreme heat and stabilize its climate. Your research and findings will form the foundation for the implementation of cooling measures. Additionally, you will have the opportunity to assemble your own team of scientists and engineers who will work closely with you. However, all team members must undergo thorough clearance procedures and meet the stringent criteria set forth by the project before being approached." Mr. Cao allowed his mask to fall away briefly as he added, "I understand the enormity of this undertaking, Dr. Li. It will require dedication, perseverance, and a pioneering spirit. The success of Project Senguo rests on your shoulders, as well as the collective efforts of the entire team." He paused for a moment, allowing his words to sink in. Rest assured, Dr. Lee, that you will have the full support of the government and access to the necessary resources to carry out your mission. The outcome will shape the future of interplanetary colonization and the destiny of humankind. Your scientific expertise, leadership, and innovative thinking are what brought you here. We have full faith in your abilities, Dr. Lee, and believe that you are the one who can lead us toward a new era of exploration and habitation. Mr. Cow offered no further words. He simply turned his gaze to the horizon, as if the answer were written somewhere in the gathering dusk. And Lee, standing at the edge of an invitation far larger than himself, realized that sometimes the greatest discoveries begin with a question no one is ready to ask. Lee stood silent for a breath, the desert wind curling around him like a whisper from the stars. "I'll do it," he said softly. "But we don't call it Senguo. We call it Project Tengri, the eternal sky. If we're to reach for the heavens, let it be under a name that remembers where we came from." Zhikow's eyes softened and a faint smile graced his lips. "Project Tengri it shall be, Dr. Lee. Your dedication and vision will help pave the way for China's expansion into the cosmos." Lee skillfully maneuvered the rugged off-road truck through the challenging terrain of the desert, its powerful engine purring with each twist and turn. The vehicle's sturdy suspension absorbed the bumps and dips along the way, providing a relatively smooth ride despite the roughness of the desert landscape. Inside the truck, memories of their university days flooded their conversation, intertwined with laughter and occasional bursts of excitement. The dim glow of the dashboard lights illuminated their faces, casting fleeting shadows as they traversed the desert. "Remember that time we went on that crazy road trip during our senior year? We didn't have a vehicle like this back then. We relied on sheer determination and a beat-up old sedan. We thought it was the adventure of a lifetime," Lee grinned. Laughing, Liu replied, "Oh, how could I forget? That car barely made it. But we did, didn't we? You were always up for an adventure, Wei. I don't know how you ever managed to convince me to follow you. We've come a long way indeed. Our dreams have evolved, taking shape in ways we couldn't have imagined back then." The truck plowed through the desert sands, leaving behind a trail of tire tracks as evidence of their progress. The barren landscape stretched out before them, illuminated by the moonlight that bathed the desert in a soft ethereal glow. As the truck rolled to a stop at a picturesque spot, they stepped out, their feet sinking into the soft sand. Wei took a moment to set up a small campfire, the flames crackling and casting a warm glow in the darkness. Sitting on the folding chairs by the fire, they gazed up at the starlit sky, the desert's silence enveloping them. The desert breeze whispered through the dunes, carrying with it a sense of anticipation and the faint scent of sand and sage. As the night grew deeper and the desert air grew cooler, Wei's gaze shifted toward Venus, a radiant jewel hanging in the inky expanse above. Wei pointed upwards. "The stars look different out here, brighter somehow, like they're watching us, or maybe waiting. It's strange. When I'm up there flying, I just feel like they're closer. Like they're not just points of light, but something calling out. Not loud, just patient. It's awe-inspiring, Wei. The vastness of the universe, the countless stars, each one representing a potential world waiting to be discovered." As the conversation unfolded, they grew more excited. They spoke of the boundless possibilities that lay beyond the familiar, imagining the excitement of venturing into the unknown. The idea of discovery, whether through space, uncharted lands, or new frontiers, fueled their excitement. Each thought they shared was laced with wonder, the allure of adventure growing stronger with every word. They weren't just dreaming of distant places. They were envisioning themselves as pioneers, on the cusp of something monumental. "Liu, I've shared all of this with you because I want you to be part of something incredible. I can't share specifics yet, but I promise this adventure will top them all." "Another adventure? If this isn't the greatest one yet, you'll have to refund my ticket price." The fire crackled and danced, casting playful shadows on their faces as they sat by its warmth, enjoying the company of long-lost friends. As the night wore on, their voices grew softer, blending with the soothing symphony of the desert. They reveled in the majesty of the cosmos and reliving their shared history together. And as they retired to their sleeping bags under the star-studded sky, the desert whispered its secrets, promising a tomorrow filled with endless possibilities. An intense and focused man, Chen Mei cradled his telescope and camera in his gloved hands. Precision guided everything he did, from the way he balanced the tripod on uneven stone, to the careful calibration of ISO and shutter speed, to the almost reverent way he aligned his lens with the stars. On this remote plateau, far from the noise of civilization, Chen found clarity. The world narrowed to a single point of concentration, and tonight, that point was the Orion Nebula. It hung in the winter sky like a living jewel. Glowing clouds of violet and rose gas coiled around a bright stellar nursery, beauty born from chaos. Through the viewfinder, it looked more like a wound in space, luminous and raw, and Chen intended to capture every atom of its beauty. He adjusted his camera with near ritualistic care, layering long exposures to draw out subtle colors invisible to the naked eye. Each click of the shutter was a meditation, a dialogue between light and time, punctuated only by the low howl of the high-altitude wind and the whine of his printer. The plateau around him stretched in quiet desolation, jagged rocks, brittle grasses, and frostbitten silence, the kind of place most people avoided, but which Chen sought out precisely for its emptiness. The absence of human interference was essential. Out here, beneath a sky unspoiled by light pollution, he could work without compromise. He checked the framing one last time, breath visible in the frigid air. This was the moment. He leaned in to press the shutter. And then the sky broke. A blaze of artificial light streaked across the frame, white and red, too fast, too bright. A plane. Chen froze, disbelieving. The camera clicked, but the image was already lost. He yanked his eye away from the viewfinder and stared upward, jaw tight. The exposure had been compromised, saturated with motion blur and stray glare. Hours of planning undone in an instant. He stood silently, his breath ragged. Then he tore the gloves from his hand and grabbed a print from earlier that evening. One of his best frames so far. He looked at it once before crushing it in his fist. The sound of engines faded. Moments later, a figure appeared from the direction of the impromptu landing. A man descending from the plane, backlit by the last flickers of its running lights. Chen stormed forward to intercept him. His boots crunched over the frost-hardened earth. "Do you know what you just ruined?" he snapped, holding up the crumpled print like a verdict. "That was the Orion Nebula. Do you have any idea what it takes to photograph it properly from Earth?" The stranger flinched at the sudden fury. He was younger than Chen expected, bundled in a parka, but with sharp eyes that missed nothing. He bowed deeply, hands clasped. "I didn't mean to disrupt your work," he said. "I truly didn't. If I had known." "You should have known," Chen barked. "You don't just fly into restricted airspace above a dark sky site without checking. This isn't some tourist spot. It's a precision environment." "I know, and I apologize," the man said calmly. "But I'm not here by accident, Dr. May." That stopped Chen cold. Li met his gaze. "You've been reassigned. You're needed for a mission, one with a scope that makes astrophotography feel small, even by your standards." Chen blinked. His anger stalled. "Reassigned?" Li nodded. "The terraforming initiative. Venus." Terraforming. Venus. The words collided in his head like mismatched gears. One a process of slow, calculated change. The other a hellscape of sulfuric acid clouds and crushing pressure. It wasn't just improbable, it was absurd. "I'm not interested in fantasy," Chen said flatly. "It's not fantasy," Li replied. "It's already underway. We need minds like yours, your eye for detail, your understanding of chemistry, your willingness to work where no one else will. This isn't about photographs anymore. This is about rewriting the story of a planet." Li's passion for the project was infectious, and his genuine belief in Chen's abilities seeped through his words. He painted a picture of exploration, discovery, and the opportunity to make a significant impact on the future of space exploration. Chen, still grappling with his frustrations and fighting skepticism at the ambitious task, couldn't help but be captivated by Li's words. The notion of venturing into uncharted territories and contributing to such a groundbreaking project was a thing legends were made of. The desolate plateau, with its silent witness of the night sky above, became a backdrop for an unexpected connection between two strangers. Li's sincerity and the allure of the mission began to chip away at Chen's initial reservations. paving the way for a potential partnership based on shared ambition and the prospect of scientific exploration. Dr. Wei Li maneuvered through the crowded robotics conference, a maze of polished chrome and flashing screens. Every corner of the vast hall seemed to hum with energy. Robots performing synchronized dances, drones buzzing overhead, and holograms showcasing the latest in artificial intelligence. His goal, however, remained singular: find Dr. Ji Zhang. Dr. Zhang was the name whispered among those who truly understood the cutting edge of robotics. His work on adaptive robotic systems for extreme environments had redefined the boundaries of what machines could endure. And Li, with his limited knowledge of robotics, was sure that Dr. Zhang's guidance would be crucial for Project Tengri. Wei's purpose here was simple, but daunting. Robotics was far outside his realm of expertise. He was a planetary scientist, an expert in the atmosphere of Venus, a world so inhospitable that most of humanity could hardly imagine it. But the mission at hand required more than his atmospheric expertise. It needed the kind of cutting-edge technology that could survive and thrive in a planetary hellscape. And Dr. Zhang was the key to unlocking that technology. As Wei wandered through the exhibits, he couldn't help but be awestruck by the precision of the robotic systems on display. The machines moved with eerie fluidity, navigating hazardous obstacles with ease, performing tasks with the accuracy of a surgeon. Yet, with each new demonstration, Wei felt more out of his depth. How could he convince someone like Dr. Zhang to collaborate on something as grand as terraforming Venus, when he couldn't even fully grasp the intricacies of robotic locomotion? He found himself at a corner stage, where a crowd had gathered around a tall, commanding figure, a man with the air of someone who had mastered both the theory and practice of his field. Dr. Zhang had just finished a presentation on robotic systems designed to survive in extreme environments, ranging from volcanic activity to the harshest desert storms. The talk had captivated the crowd, and now Dr. Zhang was fielding questions from various professionals, his posture relaxed, confident, and approachable. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward. "Dr. Zhang, I'm Wei Li," he began, trying to project an air of confidence despite the slight tremor in his voice. "I've been looking into your work on robotics, particularly your systems for extreme environments. I'm very impressed." Zhang's gaze shifted toward him, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. "Li, of course. You're a planetary scientist, right? I've read about your work on Venus. Fascinating stuff. But this," he motioned to the robotic demonstrations around them, "this is a different world." Li nodded, but there was a shift in his expression as he found himself caught between his desire to be honest and the need to remain vague. "It is outside the usual. I'm working on a project, something ambitious, and it requires technology capable of surviving environments where human life is impossible. Places where every aspect of the atmosphere is hostile." A slight smirk playing on his lips. "Hostile environments, you say? You're asking for a system that not only survives, but adapts, maybe even learns how to overcome obstacles? That's a monumental task." He chuckled softly, shaking his head. "You know, the last Venetian lander we sent there didn't exactly make it back for a cup of tea. In fact, it barely made it a few minutes before it was fried by the atmosphere. So adapting to that, well, you've got a challenge on your hands." Lee swallowed hard, but maintained his composure. "Exactly, and I believe your work could be the key to making this possible. If you could help develop a system that survives, thrives even, under those conditions, it would be revolutionary." Zhang's eyes lit up with excitement, but as his enthusiasm grew, he noticed a subtle flicker of uncertainty in Wei's expression. The confusion that crept into Wei's eyes when the conversation delved into the technical aspects didn't escape him. He paused mid-sentence, a shift in his approach taking place almost instinctively. Realizing that Wei may not be as versed in robotics as he had assumed, Ji smiled warmly, stepping back. "Okay, let's back up a bit. You're asking me a lot of very specific things I'm more than happy to explain, but first, tell me, Wei, what do you know about these kinds of environments?" Wei felt a brief murmur of relief, the change in direction offering him a lifeline. He spoke of Venus, the crushing pressure, the sulfuric clouds, the temperatures hot enough to melt lead, and how humanity's reach had always exceeded its grasp when it came to planets like this. As he spoke, he saw Ji's eyes sharpen with interest. The conversation shifted, and now it wasn't just robotics. They were discussing planetary extremes, shared challenges, and how the intersection of their fields might lead to something far greater than either of them could achieve alone. After some time, their discussion naturally segued into dinner. The restaurant's ambient lighting softened the edges of their conversation, creating a space for both men to relax into the ideas that they were sharing. It wasn't just technical talk anymore. It was about the potential of the unknown. With each bite, they delved deeper into their dreams for the future. Wei's vision of a world where humanity could thrive beyond Earth, and G's dream of robotic systems capable of autonomous exploration and adaptation in environments where survival was almost impossible. Their words flowed as naturally as their food, each idea sparking the next. The conversation became an intricate dance of intellectual exchange, concepts meshing and growing in complexity, challenging each other's assumptions. As the night wore on and the restaurant began to empty, the energy between them didn't dissipate. It lingered, a quiet hum of possibility. Before parting ways, they exchanged contact information, agreeing to stay in touch. As they stepped out into the cool evening air, Wei's thoughts were heavy with the promise of what lay ahead. This wasn't just about collaborating with Dr. Shan, it was about something far bigger. And despite his careful words, Wei's excitement was palpable. As the evening drew to a close, and the energy of their conversation lingered in the air, Wei turned to Ji with a final question that weighed on him. Ji, tonight's been truly inspiring. How would you like to help shape the future of humanity? Ji furrowed his brow, intrigued but still unsure of what was truly being asked of him. What do you mean by that, Wei? Wei hesitated, then gave him a knowing smile. I can't say more just yet, but I'll be in touch, soon. When I call, please pick up. It'll be worth your time. As they walked away from the restaurant, the night sky above them seemed to twinkle with renewed vigor. Both men consumed with the anticipation of the future, one perplexed about this strange encounter, the other looking to the stars.